Linda. Hi, May.
Hey, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to Astrology Unplugged. For those of us listening on YouTube, you're welcome any Thursday through the link on starself.com. Go to the social media drop down and then go to Unplugged, and that'll get you a link. It gets you in here live with this beautiful group of people at 7 p.m. Eastern every Thursday. Although I'm about to say something that's going to negate what I just said. Uh, So we are going to go into a new
Schedule.
schedule, and I'll be posting that on Facebook and as well as our own Facebook page. And hopefully, I believe I invited everybody in here today to that Facebook page. If you did get an invite from me to our Astrology Unplugged page, let me know because I want you to have access to it. So it's just for us. So we can talk about whatever we want in that page. So we
Claudia, is that in an email that you sent the invitation, or did you do it on Facebook?
Yeah, you'll have an invite on Facebook.
Through like Messenger or what?
It'll be a notification saying, Claudia invited you to Astrology Unplugged
Ah, okay,
group.
thank you.
If you don't see it, let me know. Um,
Okay.
but I'm pretty sure I've invited everybody and yeah, everybody that's here this evening. So the schedule is going to go as follows, and I think it'll help with people's schedules that come here every Thursday, but also um, Rick and myself. So we're going to move to, for the next 6 months, we're going to move to a twice a month meeting, twice a month schedule. And you'll know ahead of time when those dates are and what the topic is. So for now, then, so for example, we're meeting tonight. The next time we're going to meet is February 16th. And then after that is February 27th. And I'll tell you what the topics are. And the reason we're doing this is because I really want to, well, it's for many reasons, and a lot of it can be selfish, but I want to, I, I don't want to overcommit right now because of my other responsibilities. And then I'd like to, see how it plays out. And I love any feedback, or you don't have to tell me right now, but any feedback that you may have, please let me know. And Rick as well. This is our group. So we get to do what we like with it. I I'm just the one sitting here, but it's our group. So tonight,
That being said, it might not
yes.
hurt to say that I have also had Rick from years ago telling me I needed to get something going and I needed to have a show.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get that into development. If anybody wants to have conversations, by all means, I'd be thrilled to go ahead and chat with y'all if you had some thoughts on what you think folks would be interested in. And I will eventually invite you all, and as well as my Kempe's Corner followings,
Yes.
so that we can spread the
Wonderful.
word a little differently and more so.
Totally. Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I talk about kind of going with the theme of the nodes changing last couple of weeks ago, and all the changes we're expecting in the next couple of years that I think are going to be really widely felt. I don't think there's anybody that's going to be kind of sailing, coasting, and I don't mean that in a good or a bad way. It's just the energy that is going to be coming through and felt through us collectively and individually. It's just you can't help it. It's going to express itself in the world and for us as well. So I this is part of that. Rick is expanding his whole, his whole endeavor, and so am I. And then we have stuff going on outside of Astrology Unplugged, and I'm sure you all too do as well. So it's exciting. So with that, let's kick it off. So tonight is about one of my very favorite topics, and every time we've talked about this, I say it's one of my very favorite topics because it's actually one of the things that pulled me into astrology, period.
Yeah.
The fact that I understood early on what the nodes do in our charts, but then also this tonight's about what it's going to do to all of us. And then if we have time, we take a look at each other's charts and see where are you going to feel that. So the North Node and the North Node in Pisces uh, ingressed on January 12th. They travel backwards. So it was in Aries and now it's in Pisces. So it doesn't go, it goes the other direction, right? And when we think about the North Node, we always have to think about the North Node as a duo, just like we do with other signs. It's Pisces, Virgo, Pisces, Virgo. They are two sides of the same coin or a similar coin. So
A polarity, almost like a yin yang.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So um, that just happened January 12th, and they'll be in this axis until July 26th, 2026. So we've got about 18 months of this transit. So what does that mean? So let's start with the North Node and we'll go into the South Node because we have to think about what it's also going to be doing in the Virgo. What's it going to be doing Virgo wise in our lives? Because that's a really key point. I used to know an astrologer years ago who always talked about how in our charts there are certain things that are really prominent in our younger life. And the South Node ruling planet tends to be really prominent because we've come into this life, right? And that's the energy that we've come in with. It's like if you stepped into your home and you were just out in the rain, you bring your umbrella and you bring your shoes and they're probably wet. You bringing that in and then you settle and then, you dry off. But that energy is really felt more in our younger years, the South Node. So, um, let's talk about some buzzwords. Let's talk about some Piscean energies. Yes, Eric, I feel like you wanted to say something. Did you want to say something?
I'll say it yesterday. I'll say it later because I just heard something funny and it was about the year of the dragon and the dragon eats its tail.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's the
Yes.
south node and the north node.
Yeah.
They were saying that people who are very self-absorbed, it's like the dragon eating its tail,
Hmm.
and so they choke on their own tail.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
It is. And it's funny and it's interesting because in Vedic astrology, it is Rahu and Ketu that's what the equivalent, right? And it's like this insatiable hunger. And they call it the dragon's tail because it's this in Vedic astrology, from my understanding, and I am no expert by any means, it is not thought of in the same way that we do in Western. Um, but it's slightly a little bit more what I think is ominous, or it's a different kind of way.
That's a fair description.
Yeah, yeah. So
And they view and refer to it as a planet.
right, and it's really, I mean, they really focus on it very strongly. For us, not every astrologer even looks at I mean, our own Rick wasn't really a nodal person. He didn't really look at that. And I told Rick Kempe that our own Rick D went home because he was having a nodal return. Rick D's North Node was in Pisces. And I remember when I met Rick, I remember thinking almost immediately, I bet his North Node's in Pisces because he is so living that love, really wanting to be generous of spirit energy. like a Piscean person, giving, giving, give. I could just feel like his own spiritual, his soul development was so, he was so connected to that part of himself, this God in him. And uh, then I asked him, and he goes, I don't know what my North Node is because he didn't
That's
pick it.
hilarious.
So,
It's actually ironic that, in all honesty, his book elevates Pisces so highly, and it's exactly where he was moving towards.
oh God, yes. Oh,
Because
yes.
the North Node is where you're moving
Yes,
towards.
absolutely. And he really embodied that. And then at one point early on, I noticed that my North Node is exactly on his Mercury. Um, so it was very indicative of, learning from him,
Hmm.
learning from this person, which was just beautiful. It was beautiful. So let me continue. Let's talk about Pisces. So, what are some words? I'm going to call on Linda. I'm going to be in the classroom, Linda. Ah,
What?
give me,
Romper
Like
Zoom.
you're literally calling on me.
oh, yes.
Oh my God. Um,
Give me a Pisces word.
um, but I'm going to give you a couple words. Potentially addictive.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
um, I'm thinking, what's the word for, I'm thinking amorphous, but I don't think I mean that. That dissolving.
Oh, amorphous is a good approximation, if not
Yeah.
fully.
Amorphous,
Yeah.
dissolving. Um, Rick told me once that um, Pisces were neglected. We were talking about someone, connected to me that was a Pisces.
Right.
And he said, oh, he looked at, I didn't have birth times, but he looked at the sort of basic chart. He said, like many Pisces, this person was neglected. It
Mm,
neglected. So those are the ones that come up for me. Another word, liminal, sort of on the edge of two worlds,
yes. Yes.
not a foot in either thing. So I'm going to stop talking so somebody else can get called on. So that was fun. Yeah, I got called on.
Yeah. You don't get to take up all the words, so that's okay.
That's right. A bunch of them.
Those are good, though. And I like the
Right.
fact that she included words that are not, you know, always
Positive.
always positive because
Right.
I was, I was telling Rick last night, talking about tonight, we got to remember that, there's always, I don't, it doesn't matter what sign, what planet, you're gonna see expressions of both. So it's
Well, well,
important
well,
to,
the Well, the thing about a Pisces is that just as they can go very deeply onto the spirit side, they can go very deeply into the denial of that. The ant, like
The
rather than
antithesis.
right, because it's not like it's the opposite. Antithesis is a good word because while they can go deep into the sort of meditative spirituality and being sort of one with whatever,
yeah,
they can also run like a rabbit from that and
right.
hide, escape in seeking that through unhealthy means, if you will. So this is my
Yeah,
thought about it. I don't know very many Pisces, but my best friend's son is a Pisces. So we've looked at his chart over and over and over and over
yeah,
to try to figure out why he's so damaged. So,
yeah. I kind of, I see what Rick was talking about when he said, oh, they've been, Pisces can be, he was neglected, I think he said.
mhm.
And he reminded me that that is the sign of the non-self. So the sign where
Right.
the ego is not there. Now that in itself can be egoic, right? But let's just go with the idea that, it's like, oh no, you can do anything to me, and oh, I don't matter as much. And it's not that they do it necessarily in a victim sort of way, although that can happen too. It's like there's a selflessness that is there with them. And they mean it. They don't, it's not like an attention seeking thing. They really do mean it. So Pisces, like Linda said, can be the sign where we can kind of delude ourselves. And you listen, we're not just talking about Pisces. You can have Piscean signatures in your chart and not have any Pisces planets.
Yeah, don't underestimate the power of Neptune or even
Oh
Jupiter
yeah.
to go ahead and bury its head.
I can be a poster child for this. In fact, this was one of my struggles, and it continues to be one of my struggles,
Mhm.
is that I'm so Neptunian at, that I was what Linda just described, that it just like really just on the, am I on Earth, or am I in this complete fantasy that I live in? Completely. And even going into heavily into drugs, heavily into alcohol, heavily into escapism. And for reasons that were, because I grew up in a really difficult environment. Um, I guess I needed to escape. So the way to the way I found eventually, and I'll get to this because I want you to all look at what was going on in your life from 2006, June 2006 through December 2007, because it's coming around again. It's cyclical, right? So
Right.
we're about to have the same axis being triggered for us. Now, for some of us, it's not going to be as felt strongly. For somebody like me that had, I have two planets in Pisces, and then I can be very Neptunian. I remember it. I remember being like completely out to lunch, mentally, emotionally, like I don't know what the hell happened. Now I understand. I didn't then. uh, so do think about those dates, because especially, and I think Chris is a Pisces, but again, you don't have to be a Pisces to be feeling this.
I have my Saturn in Pisces. That
Yeah.
makes it powerful for me.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody could have a play. Oh, one teacher was talking about all the children of the 60s because of our Virgo placements
Mhm.
with Uranus and Pluto. That is something that's going to bring up a lot of powerful different dates for different people in the generation.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
And so
we need to hear more words of Pisces from other
Pisces.
folks.
Okay. Any other
Anybody else?
words, any other Piscean words that you can think of?
Yeah, Erica, feel free to unmute.
Well, I'm thinking of the ocean, the vast ocean, how there, covers more of the planet than the land does. And it's just kind of the water that sustains life and all of that. But
Yeah.
yet it can be invisible and change forms. It could be a cloud, or it could be an ice cube, or it could be, you know, a river or a stream
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh
or
yeah.
a lake.
Hmm.
But the ocean, as opposed to, what is it? Cancer is the river, and Scorpio is what, the ice cube? Or is it?
I want to say it's like what is that body?
It's frozen water
Hmm. Hmm.
is Scorpio.
Yeah. Um, that actually brings me to a point I want to make in a few minutes, but that's good, Erica. The bringing up the water, that's such a big part of this. Chris, go ahead if you want to unmute yourself.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Um, Being a Pisces, I try to not wallow in self-pity,
Mm-hmm.
which can happen. So I only give myself a few minutes to be a big old baby
Mm-hmm.
because I know that I can get sucked into the woe, oh, woe is me.
Right.
Everybody's picking on me, everybody's mean. So I give myself a few minutes and then I say, knock it off, get tough, you got to be strong. So that I know, but I know other Pisces that really feel victimized.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, and as a teenager, I was pretty wild. And I think my Pisces part with, I didn't get into drugs, but I smoked a lot of weed.
Yeah.
I had a great time. And then suddenly something came over me and I thought I can't do this. So thank God for that. Maybe it's my, I don't know, Aquarius moon or Scorpio ascendant. I don't know, that gave me some strength. But
Yeah.
I, yeah. But I think another thing with Pisces, for at least for myself, is the spirituality of following God.
Right.
You know,
Surrender.
yeah, I'm not religious, but I follow God. I just feel like everything I do should be like I ask God, is this what you want? So I think that has also given me strength. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, definitely. Um, it's good to have that perspective, Chris, because one thing that I've learned over the years with studying this stuff is certain signs are more susceptible. So they're more easily. So what I was trying to say is the fact that you have a Scorpio and an Aquarius moon rising sign, I'm not sure which one you said, that really helps. And it's not to say that the Piscean and Pisces is all the signs, they're beautiful in their own way, but it does help to mitigate some of that selflessness so that you don't end up wallowing. Like you just said, you give yourself some time and then you go, all right, I had a good cry. Maybe it was 2 days, 2 hours, and then you try to pick yourself back up.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah, that's true.
I think too, it's also helpful to recognize that we are not any one thing. We have a valid approach when we look at things and recognize we have all these wonderful things we get to experience. Even the challenges can be supportive because, they talk about a lazy chart that doesn't have any challenges and they don't get
Yes.
anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's important to go ahead and know what you're fighting against. That's Let's think of it as Michelangelo bringing David out of a statue of a marble. You have to know what to get rid of to find your masterpiece.
Mhm.
And, within us, we are that masterpiece waiting for the relationship between the human and the divine
Yeah.
oh, I see what you're after me to go ahead and work on.
Yes.
And I'll get on that, and we shift gears and we
Yeah.
give a little polish here and there.
Yeah. And just the fact that you look at it like that, I think helps so that you don't go into this, why is this happening to me? Or bad stuff happens to me. We know how that can take you down a rabbit hole that is really there's no winning in that. But
I've had a pair of pairs, like two pair of charts that I've had the privilege to look at recently and think about, and it has brought me this different approach to astrology that reinforces my earliest thoughts about having a spiritual development look. How do you grow through the ages of your life?
Hmm.
And the one dealt with a set of twins that were so different.
Stop.
The other is people who have come together had a 4 month difference in their ages that really was enough to change quite a few planets, and a similar time of birth had given them um, house cups within 4 degrees of one another. So, for the most part, major things they go through are very similar, but the difference is the spiritual yieldedness to embrace growth, learning, and change, and how can we meet our challenges to rise above
Hmm.
is what changes the outcome, because those that are willing to do their own work will find that taking the bull by the horns responsibly, not 100% of the time, go ahead and be upset if you need to, and then get back on your horse, because nobody's going to ride that horse into battle but you,
Yeah.
you know? And um, so I've seen where a bunch of boom, 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 boom transit hits are going toward the one individual. And in the midst of all the stress that it's created, it's also something the partner is going through, but they're dealing with it through grace.
Mm.
And the other seems to have this really powerful place for transformation. It's a moon Pluto thing, I think.
Right.
So, you know, tremendous capacity to transform, but doesn't take it,
Hmm.
doesn't yield,
Yeah.
doesn't invite or welcome. It's all of life. You don't, we really don't need astrology if we have the soul to go ahead and
Right.
yield in
Yes.
perfect communion with the divine, but that's hard to hold up. So
We wouldn't have
astrology
come
is a big
back.
help. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. So
I think
there's the
it's
difference
such a
between
great.
how people either yield and surrender or escape. And the other end of it, Virgo, we need to get to, is all about service and work and trying to be dedicated to make it go. You know,
Right.
it's almost a little too much
Yes.
control and ego,
Right.
where Pisces is a little too little
Too little. Right.
ego and control,
Yeah.
very little responsibility sometimes. This happened to me, and I can't have a different experience because I'm sorry, this happened, but yes, you can have a different experience.
It's a really good way to reframe it in your head. That's one of
Hmm.
my favorite things about astrology is that you get to choose because, things happen in our lives all the time, and they're going to continue to happen.
Right.
You're going to have all these experiences and emotions around them. Um, but one of the first things I realize is, oh, when I looked at it, when I was learning, I'm still learning, but um, oh, this is where I'm going to feel a rub. This is where it's going to stretch me. This is where I'm going to feel like I'm being wrung out. And it doesn't have to be this terrible, oh God, oh, because I can get like that. It's like right now, I have Saturn in my 10th house, and I've been going through this really difficult job stuff, right? But I get up, and even though it's been stressful, I remember, oh, I'm Saturn's working me. And it helps me deal with there is a purpose, there's a reason why I'm in this job and why I'm learning what I'm learning and experiencing what I'm experiencing. Um, Instead of, being like frustrated or angry about it, that this is the way it is. I get to choose, I get to reframe the way I look at it. But I didn't get that till like 5 years ago.
Huge.
Yes. And it was actually, you know what? It was when I think Saturn was on my sun. I guess I have Saturn stuff. Saturn was on my sun. And I remember talking to Rick going, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm gonna do." 'Cause I
Well,
felt,
Saturn is the karmic teacher,
yes.
and work is a part of life and living. You have to work to prepare a meal.
Yeah, yeah,
So even if you're going to sustain your life,
yeah,
you have to make a decision, you know?
yeah. So I put in the chat one of my very favorite books that I read years ago, and I still read it because it's so,
Jan Spiller, yes.
so good. Oh my gosh. It's so good. It's on the nodes. It's just on the nodes. And it's one of the best
Right.
I've ever read on the nodes, period, hands down. Each chapter of each sign is really long and extensive and goes into great detail. And it's not, it's easy to get, but it goes deep into why you have that nodal placement and what you can do with it. More importantly, the south node part of it, right? Which is the quote unquote part that we're supposed to be not letting go of, but transcending and using in a different way. Um, so you might want to check that out. I mean, it may interest you. There's also one that Jan Spiller wrote, and it's in the same vein, but it's for couples for synastry. I think it's called Love, something about love. But it's with the nodes as well. So let's
Dr. John shared a couple words about Pisces,
beautiful word,
universal spirit and transcendence. Absolutely. Great.
wonderful words. And if we could all remember those words instead of foggy delusion, escapism, but
I
um,
think we could also describe our experiences as we imagine ourselves looking out at the ocean
oh yeah.
because it affects you
Oh my
with
God.
this human
Yes.
experience.
Yes.
And in light of modern communication, we're also aware of tsunamis.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I was thinking about Linda's thoughts and thinking, what does that do for oceans? And it makes me see how it's at some level connected to the raging of emotions that erode the boundaries against another.
Mm,
So a toxic Pisces can really be invading other people's space too,
yeah.
as a function. I think it's a function more than it is a sign in
Right.
that
Right.
regard. Just something
Um,
to throw out there and consider.
yeah. I want to go into the south node part of this. So the opposing. So we know that it's always a polarity. And one thing I wanted to bring up is something that I've noticed with the transits this year with the outer planets and the nodes. We're going from um is it air and what? No, air and earth. We're going to water and fire.
Fire,
Air and fire, Libra and Aries.
And so now we're going to water and fire. I'm
right.
sorry, water and earth. Sorry. Um,
It's from the masculine to the feminine.
yeah, yeah. And the reason I bring up is because I think uh the elements I think can be so important to remember when we think about transits and we think about how they're hitting us and what it's asking of us. I always try to say when I look at a transit, I go, oh my God, that's I have so and so coming up in a year or whatever it is. what is it asking of me? What is it? It's no accident. Or when I look at a solar return and I go, wow, that's gonna be quite a year. And some solar returns really you're you must need it on some level to expand you into the next level of your evolution. So I do try to remember and the elements, it's very simple, which I love.
Mhm.
Just think about the elements. So it's really important that even though the South Node is going to be in Virgo, we really do have to remain grounded because water can be very healing. Um, but it can also dissipate and create fogginess. And
The waves can knock you down.
yeah, yeah. In fact, Katrina happened during this time, during this,
Cycle.
yep. Uh, we had record-breaking floods and storms in that time. We had Arctic ice melt. It reached really low levels, alarming levels. Uh, so obviously, water is going to be a key part of this. We happen to have Saturn in Pisces at the moment too. Now that's gonna, Saturn is gonna move into Aries, but that's something to remember. So why don't we go into, you want to go into the Virgo side, Rick? The Virgo South Node?
Sure. So the Virgo South Node is a very strong comforting experience with because you are comfortable with your South Node. And Virgo is comfortable taking point on control and checking all the details. So it's very much, I got this. I'm going to take care of that. This has to happen in this order. I got this list over here. I'm going to dot my I's, cross my T's, and everybody should know their places. I'll make sure everybody knows what they need to do. If they're having issues, I'll make sure they're knowing it when they're doing it wrong.
Yes. Right. Yeah. I read something today.
Rick was well known for letting people know that Virgo energy can be very difficult in the space of a parent,
Sure.
that they are very
Oh, yeah.
critically communicative, and it is internalized very considerably on the part of their children.
Of course. And depending on the child, that can definitely have implications. I mean, if you had a Cancer child, that's different than having a Capricorn child as a Virgo parent. That's going to affect them differently. I mean, we know that, all kids are all different. But one thing I read today that was really key and that I really liked, I resonated with it, maybe you will as well, was that the South Node and then the Pisces, let's remember that we need to really stay grounded and release anxiety and go into
Mm-hmm.
a calmness. And I tend to be an anxious person, or I tend to have a lot of anxiety. Maybe maybe right now. But it's I've kind of struggled with it. And I have Mars in Virgo and it opposes my moon in Pisces.
It's
So
almost like Virgo's saying double check you're double checking, and Pisces is saying relax, let it go.
yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Uh, but I think when we think about especially the state of our world right now, this is a mental, physical health axis as well. Mental health,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the psyche, and the physicality of us, like in our physical world. Uh,
And Neptune rules substances as well as water and chemicals. So I don't imagine that they were following it, but it would be interesting to see what type of mental health statistics may have shifted during the
Yeah.
last and what we can expect now post-pandemic, because we are still watching people um, spiral from things they experienced in quarantine.
Oh my gosh. It's amazing to me still. And
Right.
it's been almost 5 years. It's still amazing to me the all the consequences and everything that transpired for us internally and our children and everything after that.
Mhm.
So what are some Virgo words? I'll anxiety.
Meticulous, meticulous, detail oriented,
Yes.
on point.
Yeah, yeah,
The editor,
Oh, yeah.
that's true. The
Good one,
X is
Erica.
right.
the
The
critic,
critic.
Perfectionist.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, that's a beautiful word.
Specific to the decimal.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Great for accounting.
You want your accountant to be a Virgo. You want your nurse to be a Virgo.
There are a lot of Virgo accountants out there, yes, and nurses too.
Right, right.
I had a
the
cousin who was a
servant,
Virgo nurse.
Yeah.
Yes,
the
the
servant,
worker, the worker
the
bee.
worker.
A
Absolutely.
lot of work issues and labor movements. You need to
They think
watch,
everybody needs to be of service and they get mad when they're not.
Yes.
particularly to their own standard of how it should be.
I,
Well,
I,
that too.
I feel like I might be channeling Rick D here, but like, have you ever noticed that like Labor Day actually falls when the sun is in Virgo?
Right,
Makes sense.
Like, no coincidences, right?
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I used to have a boss that was a Virgo, and she would say to me something that I've never heard a boss say to me. She'd go, "Well, why would make you do that when I wouldn't want to do it, so I'll take that on." Like she was so sweet about, "No, no, I got it. I don't want to do that to you because it's her job." And she easily could have. She could have put it on me. She could have made me do that extra work, whatever it was. But she said, whatever it takes to get the job done, whatever it takes. And she'd have a great attitude about it. Except sometimes you're right, Erica, she would say things about other people that weren't willing to actually
Oh,
overextend themselves, you know?
You've had one of those, Linda.
Oh, my former boss, the nun, who is one of my dearest friends. And so I'm not talking smack about her. But honestly, first of all, she had this long list of things she expected to get done. I mean, her to-do list never ended. And and she did a lot of it herself, but she always expected everybody to have the same to-do list and to just go and go and go and go and go.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times when now she's older and she's semi-retired, but when she needs help with technology, sometimes she wants me to do something for her, and she wants it done like yesterday. I mean, I said, "Look, I'm still working. I'm still teaching 4 classes. I've got this, I've got that, and the other thing. Can I do this 2 o'clock on Tuesday because it's not an emergency?" But it's like this has to be done, and it's not going to be right, and you can't cut corners. And oh my God, it was just relentless. And everybody thought I'd be upset when they made this other woman in our department the department chair. And I said, I'm having a party. Now I'm working for a Leo now. And she does a lot of things herself, but she's an excellent delegator and a really good leader. Very much I'm I'm the boss. I mean, they're so prototypical. She's like, I'm the queen of the universe, and we're all her minions. But we do not have, she doesn't expect us to work. I mean, just to do our normal thing. But as long as we, yeah. Yes, Your Highness. Here's this thing you wanted, and I'm the Libra in me is perfectly happy with that. Just let her go because then I just do what I want to do. So, but oh my God, the Virgo though. Oh Lord, Lord. And I had, there was one time I had like 5 or 6 Virgos in my life at the same time, and it was like insane. It was insane. Yeah. And I'm
They,
still trying to
Interesting
figure
that
out.
you found them that populated and concentrated at a particular time. It's probably an interesting time in your life to go back and look at the transits.
Oh gosh, it would be, I think. It's like
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know,
um,
but Virgos. I mean, I love them. I do love them. I think they're a lot of fun. You can trust them most of the time, but oh my Lord, it's very tough on
so
people.
yeah, when we think about the South Node, and then you put that together with the fact that it's in Virgo, it's I want to make a distinction because I spent many years saying, well, you have to let go of the South Node, but we're really not going to be able to let go of it fully, especially in our natal chart. But maybe as a transit, it's easier collectively to use the South Node in a more, I was going to say productive way. Isn't that a Virgo word? In a way that isn't causing problems for you and making you
So it's actually supposed to be considered a point of things you have mastered in your past life.
right.
So it is to serve you, but we must always remember we can't elevate one over the other. We have to integrate them.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to find a middle space to go ahead and stretch ourselves to recognize, oh, while I was developing all these Virgo skills, I was neglecting these Pisces realities.
Right.
So there's some point of focus where this is challenging each of us to get out of our comfort zone of how we work things and take responsibility and expand our approach to surrender to something larger. Where is it calling you to surrender? Where is it calling you to take responsibility? That's where we look at our charts.
Yeah. And maybe we can do that in the next few minutes because I think you're right, is integrating. That's a big word that I try to remember when it comes to the nodes in particular. So we're going to have,
I think that was my takeaway with Jan Spiller.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. She's great. Jan
Mhm.
Spiller's great. Um, February 27th,
Seven?
7th, we're going to talk about the eclipses, which are connected to the fact that we just went into this axis, right? So the eclipses always run in the same signs as the nodes. They're not, so you have 4 eclipses a year. Sometimes you'll have more, but they're always going to be in the same signs. Not all of them are going to be in that same um, axis. Sometimes there's leftovers from the previous or the next. But we're about to have all the eclipses go into the Pisces Virgo axis. So that'll be our
Wow.
conversation for February 27th. So if you have any angles, planets in Pisces or Virgo, obviously, or um, anything that's going to square that, or anything that's going to trine that, that's
Or anything that is a ruling planet of one of those eclipse signs, perhaps is prominent in your chart because
definitely,
that's also being affected.
it's yeah. So we'll look at that. But one thing I want to touch on too is does anybody have a North Node in Pisces in this group right now? Okay. Because the nodal returns are pretty big deal in my book. They're really coming home to yourself time in a new
Was that Rick? Rick de Clemente? Didn't he have his North Node in Pisces?
yes.
You were just saying that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But she was meaning anybody present, but Rick
I
is
know,
present.
but he's present, right?
Rick
He's
is
saying,
present.
hey, what about me?
So
Thank you, Erica.
yes. Uh yeah, that is to me that's a big time. And when I look back on my nodal return and when I was 36, well, the last one I mean it was like my whole understanding, my whole outlook just opened up in a huge way. I probably had other transits going on because I remember having, no, it wasn't quite my Pluto transits yet, but it is a time where I felt like I was really on the path. Like in other words, I was starting to really feel like myself in a whole new way and spiritually started to open up big time, big time. And that was when I started to study astrology more seriously. Um, but I guess it's a feeling of purpose or it's a feeling of, really comfort in your own spirit, I find. And I have found with other people, like by watching their lives. And sometimes that comes with a mess. That comes with this this stuff had to happen and you know in comes that axis and you go, oh, it's like you're okay, I get it now. I get why all that stuff had to happen. So the nodal returns are a big deal. Reverse nodal returns, so does anybody have a north node in Virgo in this group right now? No, that's a big deal.
I just looked up my chart because I had no idea. And it
Mm-hmm.
says I have North Node is in 8 degrees, 8 minutes Pisces in the fourth house.
Oh,
What the hell does that mean? I mean, I'm just looking it up. It's on my Celeste app, which has my chart on it. I
right.
thought, let's look and see. No, I don't think it says where the South Node is. It'd be on the other side, right? It'd be in.
Yes, it's at 8 degrees
So
Virgo.
yeah, so
Ugh.
that
I
is
had no idea.
well, then look at that. So Linda, so the north node right now is, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So wherever the little headphone is, right? I call it a little headphone or a little horseshoe. Exactly opposite that is going to be the south node. Um, and it's just in the opposing sign. So in Pisces, it's I wouldn't be surprised if at some point you ended up working from home or something. But I know you don't right now. But there's
I don't know. That might also be keeping the home a spiritual sanctuary.
yeah. You like being home, Linda?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I seriously, I mean, there are days when I just don't even go out in the yard. Just, I mean, I like to read, I like to write, um, I'm good at amusing myself.
I
Um,
was going to say, I would think that the North Node in Pisces in the fourth would make you happy with being with yourself.
yeah. I mean, a lot of my pursuits, the things that I really like to do were back in the day when I was a distance runner. I didn't like to run with other people. I like to run with myself. And that was the pre-headphones era. So I was running just as a human without any augmentation. So, I mean, I mean, there's a side of me that also likes the social side. I mean, I go out to work and I enjoy being there but I'm glad to come home. And it's that back and forth, I guess.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
had no idea that I would, when you're talking about this North Node and
Yeah.
Pisces, I'm thinking, wow, that's really interesting. I thought, whoa, it applies to me, you know? So,
So you're
Mhm.
meant to feel like this feeling of peace. Uh, and the fourth house is feeling of peace emotionally in your home, but also in yourself. And I mean that can apply to anybody, right? But it really is a really strong place for you to find this ease, this uh letting go emotionally as well, which you may have done throughout your life. You've had to have a release of like, wanting things to be just so.
Oh, yes. Woo.
Yeah, yeah.
That'll spoil your life. If you, that's a life spoiler, not being able to accept how
Hmm.
things are and not being curious about where they're going then. You know, I mean, the thing about it is that if you're clinging to this sort of rigid idea of things, then you're going to miss the reality, which may be so much bigger and more transformative. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Doesn't she sound like she has a North Node in Pisces?
Yeah, she used the word transformative because it was compelling, you know?
But yeah. And and I bet you it's because you didn't always feel that way. You didn't always feel like it's almost like you were having this fight with life.
Oh, oh, that's 100% correct. That's
So
right.
the Hellenistic ruler of Pisces gives us Jupiter, and Jupiter stands in opposition to the bowl of the other major planets. Or if you don't count Chiron, the fan. It is the bowl, the bucket handle, or the fan handle.
Mhm.
So it is really emphasizing that a lot, which in Aries in the fifth, it totally supports your understanding of the drama of the human identity and bringing it forward and having this creative awareness of who one is.
Well, on a much lower level, I've always thought that Jupiter there made me very lucky
Oh
because
yeah, fifth house
because people
for
people
sure.
people, like I'll lose my phone, or because I lose stuff all the time, and just too much on my mind, and then other things like where's my phone falls away, and people will say, "Why aren't you worried about that?" It's because it always comes back, and because I expect to be lucky. I
Yes.
expect I expect that, if I buy a raffle ticket, I expect to win. And I do quite often. I've never won the lotto, which would be nice, but not,
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
I think that Jupiter is always, I've always looked at that as uh, an explanation for a lot of the fact that in many areas of my life, I haven't had to make effort. I mean, I never had to
Mm.
make an effort to get a job. Jobs like, this is me in jobs. Okay. Oh, here's a job. Oh, here's a job. Oh, I lost a job in one day, and the next day, the University of Pittsburgh graduate director offered me a fellowship. I mean, seriously, I wasn't unemployed more than 24 hours. That's a
Wow.
very lucky. That's very lucky. And
Yes.
but that's also the luck of understanding that your life is in a flow, and if you don't,
Sure.
if you don't push against it, you can go with it. So I
That
don't,
is
I guess that is very
perfect.
Piscean, isn't it?
It is. It is.
I never thought of myself as having any Pisces characteristics at all.
Oh, well,
But you just
welcome,
talked through them.
welcome to tonight.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Oh,
what sets you apart from the Libras so much, Linda.
oh, well, that and all the dang Scorpio. But it's a cool chart to have, because
Yeah.
there's so many elements. Now, what about talk a little bit about the Virgo part? Like that's where I'm going or something, or what do you mean?
Oh,
That's where you have mastery
yeah.
because in past life experiences, you would have had such a comfort level with those um, priorities that you're not chained to them, but they serve you. You have this capacity, Virgo. Do, um, the Virgin is a terrible archetype. It's better to think of the grain maiden who winnows the grain and separates the wheat, kernel from the chaff. That is the capacity of Virgo. This you need to keep. This we can pitch.
Hmm.
They know the important details. That's key for 10th house, it's a part of your work.
Yeah.
This is unnecessary. That's important.
I see that's like that's my superpower.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, I count on that. I mean, I'm not a planner. I go into
Well, you know what you're doing the first time.
right, that's right. I go in and I figure I'm gonna know in the moment what the right thing is to do. And
Right.
and that's what makes me a good teacher because I'm not trying to, force food down the goose's neck. We're trying to have a thing. And
Hmm.
oh, that's very cool. I like that. And I like it sitting next to Venus there.
Yeah.
Mhm. That whole
So right now,
oh,
let me stop sharing just for a minute because I want to look at the North Node is currently, yours is in a early degree. It is currently at 29 degrees. So it will hit your personal North Node probably around uh spring, summer of 26. But that doesn't mean you're not going to start feeling it now. I think you're going to start feeling it, but it could be at that point in your life, at that point, that you're going to start stuff, people, circumstances, job change, whatever it is, will could be triggered at that time. Because I
Well, and two, she's experienced the nodal energies just coming in for quite a while before they actually hit the
yes,
return.
yeah,
That's been her pattern throughout all of her nodal experiences in this life. So there's every likelihood that she's getting ready, processing because of it being in sign. And then by the time it hits point, it's probably going to be aha moments,
oh
pull the
yeah,
trigger on changing
oh yeah.
shifts. Yeah.
I'm liking it for you. I know I'm not supposed to use words like that, but I don't care. I'm liking it for you because I feel that in you already that you really have. I mean, I haven't known you that long, but this sense of I, I this knowing like it's all going to happen at the right time, whatever it is, you're gonna know the right thing to say, you're gonna know the right thing to do, and life is happening through you. And you don't have to effort so much because you don't need to resist.
right. I mean, that's it. It's like true in almost every element of life, that people, like I work in sports, um, as my avocation, and I always tell the players, man, you think you're entitled
Uh-huh.
to win, but all of, you know, people who actually do have spent years get, getting learning how to read all that and knowing what efforts to make and when, and not just stopping and starting and expecting things to, I mean, things, like I say, things fall into my hands, but that's from years of preparation. I mean, it's not an
Right.
accident
Right, right.
or luck in the sense of going to a roulette wheel. It just means that if you're living life and
A
following
flow.
that those things will open up for you. And when people are not on the path, that's when everything gets blocked. And that's my romantic life. That's a whole other matter. But
No, I understand. That's wonderful.
we should look
Hey
at
there, Sean.
somebody else's chart.
Sean, we're going to look at Chris now because I want to make sure and get to Chris and Sean, who happen to be our fellow Pisces. Um,
And we're talking about the nodes. So, yeah.
exactly. Good to see you, Sean. Um, let's look at Chris's chart. So Chris has, oh, she's having a reverse nodal return.
Right.
Yeah. So Chris's north node is in Virgo, and opposing that is her south node in Pisces. So
So
in the
9 years ago would have been her nodal return.
right. So you're going to have uh the opposite. So because the nodes right now are in Pisces and Virgo, the north node's in Pisces, your south node is in Pisces. I find this time, and maybe it's just my experience and just from watching people that have a nodal return, you come to a point of integrating more and understanding more of why you are the way you are, why things have been happening the way they have been, where it, it it's a new level of understanding. Uh, in your next nodal return, it'll be not only a new level of understanding, but personifying and really, really living that. But I find the reverse nodal return really, I, I don't know, pleasant because there's something where you kind of make peace. It balances out so nicely, you make peace with it. So as a North Node in Virgo, so you have the opposite of Linda, right? So
Right.
your North Node is in Virgo, and it actually is in similar in the same houses, except you know, switch them. So your North
Right.
Node is in Virgo in the 10th house, hers was in the 4th house. So in Virgo in the 10th house, it's going to require you to have that, not require, but it's pushing you and helping you to have that, you know, organized planning, service, work, and really service. I know you work with cats and you know you volunteer. It's a very Virgo thing. Um,
The small animals.
yeah,
Mhm.
Right.
oh, totally. Pets. Um, and in the 10th house, it's really like you could say that this is when you know, if I were to tell somebody about Chris, it's like that's one of the top things I think of is, oh, well, she loves cats. She loves working with cats, helping, you know, in the shelter. So this nodal return that's happening for you, and you know what? You've got similar degrees to Linda too. Hers were either 4 or 5 degrees. Uh, so this is a time where you're going to start to, I don't want to use the word balance, but it's the only word I can think of. But make peace with that part
Well,
of
there's probably a strong impetus to that after coming out of the Aries Libra to go
Mm.
ahead and recognize while you're in this identity awareness and balancing with the energies of partners. Now, how do you go ahead and bring balance to this next dynamic?
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
And
know,
I do feel like I'm organizing a lot of things. For instance, like my mother was a writer,
Mm-hmm.
and she left behind a zillion notes about the family because she was also an astrologer. She did everything, but I'm trying to organize that
Uh-huh.
and so that there's something that's for the family because it's just,
Yes.
she has boxes of stuff that she'd make notations. She was a double Aries with the Gemini moon, and she wrote like she did astrology, so she'd write down something like this person did this at this, and I have so much to work with. But I want to organize that. I also want to organize all the ghost stories from the family because everybody, we're
has
just,
their stories.
yeah, we have, yeah, really fun stories. So yeah, I'm really into like just organizing all that stuff. And then my husband and I were also organizing things in our house and trying to, I don't want my children to, when I do die, and I hope it's not for a long, long time, I don't want them to have to go into the attic and see what's up there.
Well, good for you. It sounds like you're on your way to this note.
Clean your own attic.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's funny because Linda, my husband's born on October 4th, but is 57, but he's a Libra. And you know, we get along. We've been married so
That's
long.
funny.
Oh,
We
what
get,
a raging endorsement.
Yeah, he
I
helps
mean,
me with my cat, so God bless him.
see,
He
I think Libras are hard to get along with. In spite of what everybody thinks about them, I think they're hard to get along with because I think they're n- they're not on firm ground a lot of the time. And it's you know, it took me a long time to get past all that. And I'm much easier to get along with now that I'm much more into the other aspects of my chart. So I can see myself doing the Libra waffle.
But hey,
Like, I don't
Linda,
care where we go to dinner. And then I really do care
I
where we go to dinner. And
you
then you're off to the races and things don't go well.
yeah, if I can chime in for a second, Linda and everybody, I have a few good Libra friends. One in particular, she's a fiery Libra. I mean, because literally Leo rising and Leo moon. I think having fixed energy really helps with Libras, like in my experience. The worst Libras I've dealt with are those that have mutable moons. I have another friend who has a Gemini moon and she's like all over the place. So I'm looking at your moon in Scorpio. I'm like, okay, fixed. So you have a certain amount of like, I can look this way, I can look that way, but I still have a core. I think Libra needs to have some kind of like a core,
Right.
to fall back on. And
Hmm.
And
that
this,
I
can
think if they
support
don't, they
balance.
end up trying to find their identity in the partner.
oh,
Absolutely.
hello. Yeah.
Codependency factor, Vic. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And this is where astrologers can really help people. Because for me, it was in the fatal Duquesne University parking lot conversation I had with him when he finally said to me, he said, you have uh, Scorpio rising and Scorpio moon in the first house. He said, you're a wild horse and and you're trying to live this Libra life and
Mm.
you're screwing yourself up. That's what he said. I'm pretty much quoting him exactly. Because you
Yeah.
know how he was, he was, but
Yeah.
that's why I think this group is so important, because, and I hope it grows and expands because people need to learn how to work their chart and make
Yes.
their lives better. I mean,
Right.
it's not like some voodoo science. I mean, it's just a snapshot of what you were given at birth, and I don't know why it works, but
But it does. Right.
I don't know what God is either, and I don't really we have to persist regardless of that. So,
And
that's
it was along and allowing us to understand the psyche and archetypes and who we are before we had Freud, Jung, and any other psychologists that came along. So it is more developed and dependable and accessible.
Yes. I think you're absolutely right, Linda. I think this is, it's amazing to me that people don't, they dismiss it and they dismiss it so like the Easter Bunny or something. And it's so transformative when you when you understand your chart. You don't have to be an astrologer. Just know that there's something that you're supposed to get from this and you work with it, not against it. Um,
Right.
you know, to each his own. Uh, Sean, welcome back, buddy. So
Hey, how are you guys doing?
good. I know your North Node is in Gemini,
Gemini.
but
Yep.
what we're talking about tonight is how it's going to be now in Pisces in the sky right now.
Hmm.
Although it's not a planet, it's just a point in the ecliptic. You're going to experience the Piscean. Where are you going to experience that? And you are a Pisces, right? Because the North Node is in Pisces. It's gonna it's gonna hit your sun.
And
Um,
Mercury, which is the ruler of the North Node.
Oh,
of your North Node, yeah,
Yes, of his North Node.
which is uh
As well, it's the ruler of his fifth house.
so is
So
that gonna be
nice.
upgrading my system?
I would say so because um we look at the fifth house as dealing with children,
Mm,
theater, drama that does have a relationship to our inner self, our inner child, our shadow work. So I think you're
yeah.
definitely getting a bump up in
You're getting a bu-
understanding
I think
yourself.
I mean, on your sun, your
Feels like
whole
it.
identity is going to feel
Yes.
more
Yeah.
like you're gonna feel more.
What's happening right now, to be direct, it's kind of like you open your eyes, no, you close your eyes. It's trying to let me see both sides. Like it feels
Hmm.
like I'm training myself to go on naturally, I guess, deeper and deeper. That's
Yeah.
what's happening. Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful, Sean, because Jupiter has been transiting your north node, your personal north node. So this is a nice, it's like the wisdom and the understanding is it's coming, it's working its way through you. But also you just said something that was so key. Talk about living this stuff. It's like you're trying to see it from both sides. And that's so Gemini. Your north node is in Gemini.
Yeah.
This is an interesting look with I don't know if it's because of the color scheme today that we're looking at this, but my north node is conjoined your north node, and
That's awesome.
conversely the south node. And I was just talking with Claudia beforehand how uh, I ran into someone and encountered them in life, and it turns out that we not only went and stayed in the same dorm building, he actually stayed in my same room 18 years after I was there.
Wow.
That just blew me away. And the year I was there, we painted the halls using a Monopoly theme, and that dorm room happened to be between the representations of chance with the dice and the question mark on the other side. Just seems like there's something interesting about that. Like, what are the chances, you know?
Oh,
Right.
totally. So this is the even your energy to me feels a little different, Sean. I don't know, something just even more maturity.
Yeah.
Something is a brew. And it's
No,
good.
I'm telling you, that's it. I'm just trying. I mean, I don't know how to word it. I'm just trying to give you my own little
Yeah.
description of it. It's like, yeah, just getting to like throwing away all the shades, not shades, but layers, I guess. And then you find the eye, and then you realize that even the eye is inside of so it's
Hmm.
just getting to the core of it.
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad you're back tonight. And it's going to continue because it just started. So you're just getting started too. I already looked at because I think when the North Node transits over your sun, it's a significant time to, your sun is such a big part of who you are. And this is I'm looking forward to seeing, how your life transpires in the
Yeah.
next year and a half.
It gave me a lot of time, like I was working for the past 8 years. And October 15, I lost my job. And then so now I'm kind of like just taking the time to relax. I'm gonna just get some unemployment, and it
Hmm.
should last until October.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just using it to do like inner work. You understand? Like the stuff that I
Beautiful.
couldn't do while just being running around all day,
Oh,
you know.
that's
So
awesome.
that's pretty much it. So it
That,
seems like some type of process is happening, and I feel like
oh
a
yeah.
lot of interdimensional connections and this connection to everything that's going on around me. Like I'm seeing how the network is kind of working and how we're all just making this thing happen. You know, not really us, not like we exist individually in that sense, but I'm just seeing how God is operating through us. So we are just the functions,
Hmm.
like the keyboard, he has a keyboard and we just pretty much the functions, we're not really separate. We're just doing it all together, really.
We are.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
that is so true. We really are. I wish more of us sense that.
Mhm.
Um, let's move on to Erica because we don't have a lot of time left, and I want to be able to. We have enough of a small group that we can get to everybody. So
Yes.
Erica just came out of your sixth house, and it's going to be approaching, it's still in your sixth house. It's gonna transit
Well,
your,
it came out of the seventh.
yes, it came out of the seventh, and now it's about here. And it's gonna go into your fifth at some point, but sixth and fifth. And you know what that's about. It's, it's actually it's service and work.
But interestingly, it is the Pisces node in the Virgo house.
Yeah.
So you're looking at this integration of spiritual daily life, the
Mm-hmm.
Pisces spirituality, the daily life of the sixth house. Because the daily life, in my opinion, is the only unifying understanding of what does diet, work, health all have in common, and exercise. It's things you tend to and deal with every day just to live.
Right.
It's ultimately how do we tend to our own needs to go ahead and be of service.
Yes.
Yeah,
But we,
I've really been dialing down or focusing on my health more.
Mhm.
And since I just retired, I've been planning, with every ache and pain and test that I missed. It's like, as soon as I retire, I'll look into this, I'll get that checked out, et cetera, et cetera. And simultaneously, I've been, over the last couple of years, studying medical astrology and how herbs and astrology can show us what to do and how to support the weaknesses that we have constitutionally that we've been born with. So yeah, I need to at least exercise or stretch a half an hour a day. I found that out the hard way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's just a basic.
That's excellent.
Given what you said, Erica, I have to ask if you found biochemic tissue salts yet
Yes.
and the
And
astrological connections.
I do take them. Uh, I've been into homeopathy probably, since the 1990s, but it was like too many years of study. So I'd go to doctors and stuff. But, I've just always been interested in health and helping other people with their health and listening to what, my grandparents or parents or, the culture said in terms of what's good for you. And simultaneously really being a sugar addict. So I've been having to tear myself away from all those things and find, healthy things that are pleasurable and sweet tasting and maybe takes a little more time to cook or shop for or whatever. And
Yeah, you got to
hey,
be sweet to your own soul.
well, listen, I'm 77 and I'm still around. So that
You're doing
has a
great.
testament to something, right?
Yes, you
I'm doing something
Absolutely.
right.
really,
Plus, I'm lucky to have good genes and all that too.
well, good for you. It sounds like
Yeah.
you're coming into another, this time is you're going to continue to focus on that
Oh,
health.
yeah, definitely.
Big time. Wonderful.
And also astrology, now that I have time,
Yeah.
um, from what Christine was saying, finding all this information that her mother left for her. I've
Uh-huh.
got notes and essays and articles and books and all this stuff, with my North Node in um, Gemini. I live for information, more information, more
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
What's this?
Yeah.
What's that? I'm so curious. I want to learn, 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 learn. But you can overwhelm yourself, and then all of a sudden, you're not able to absorb it and get into deep into depth about it. Um, and you become like a dilettante, you know, uh, a little bit about everything, but you got to really focus and say, okay, now I'm going to study this and put that on the shelf for a while. And it's hard for me to do that, but I need to do that if I want to come anywhere near mastering and being able to
Yes.
use some of these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. You will. You will.
But I wish I could live for hundreds of years because there's so much to learn. If only the body would manage to want to see what happens,
Totally. I say that about books. I say I hope I don't die soon because there's so many books I want to read.
Well, my secret is audiobooks
Yeah, yeah,
because you can read and do something else at the same time.
yeah, yeah. Thanks, Erica.
You're welcome. Thank you,
Let's look at,
Claudia, and thank you, Rick.
Absolutely.
I think you guys can see John on this, John's.
Yes, we have his chart up.
Yes, so we have his going from his midheaven into the ninth house. So this is a real focus on what he really believes. His beliefs are
And he just came off of a reverse nodal return.
Yeah, I did.
so even more like talk about this theme is going to continue. Remember how I said the nodal return, I feel like you have a new level of understanding about yourself and how everything is fitting together in your life. And that's going to even more, now this is going to continue that because the ninth house is that house of what do I believe? Do I believe about the world, about myself, about my family, about my relationship, about my job, about spirituality, everything, everything. It is a beautiful time of really kind of like what Sean is experiencing of not resetting, but like discovering yourself and your software.
Yeah, I mean, that all resonates, Claudia, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I've definitely become a little bit more of a Sagittarius recently, being a little bit more outspoken, which is something I never used to do. It's
Yeah.
funny.
I love it.
Um,
I think it's
yeah.
awesome. I think it's awesome. I
Oh,
do.
thank you.
You know why? Because, and Rick would say this, there are certain people,
He's
like,
talking through you now, I'm sure.
yeah, he would say, you could stand to be a little outspoken. You could stand to be a little, like, like if he were to look at my chart sometimes, he'd go, be angry, push on that person. Do like you because in me it wouldn't be like too much. It wouldn't be like Donald Trump.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
would
that's
It
be
would be a wake-up call.
yeah, and for you,
definitely.
John, it's like, oh, it's so fitting with how your evolution, with what I know about your chart and how you've been really, really you're coming out of you're almost done with a Uranian transit. Oh, come on.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, that's like
that's fun.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah,
Screw it. Say what you want.
yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like it's getting more public though. I mean, Neptune's been on my midheaven. That was a doozy, and then it's moved out. I mean, one thing I've noticed, I think since Neptune's moved out of my ninth house, like I think the beliefs are like things are becoming clear in terms of my philosophy.
Yeah.
And now they're being made public.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Rick. That's exactly
Yeah.
That's what the 10th house does to those spiritual experiences.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think
That's
Here you
awesome.
are.
hey, the three of us are going to continue to work together for a very long time. I mean
Yeah.
I
that I'm
love
sure.
Neptune.
But yeah.
Right?
I do
Thank
too.
you.
Powerful.
What an honor to have a reading by you, Claudia. Thank you.
Now,
Serious.
I have to say that
You and Rick
North
both.
Node ruler is very interesting for John because the Venus only covers one of your house cusps because the interception, and there's your Tarian conjunction in the 11th house of the Sun and Chiron. wow, what a voice for social justice, you
Yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm.
for bringing healing in earthly, practical, down to earth ways. And what
Yeah.
are you doing? You know, you're really walking the walk,
I'm just getting started.
walking the talk. Yeah,
I'm
You
just
are. You
started.
are just getting started.
beautiful.
Thank you both. I mean,
Oh,
Rick, you and I had an idea. Just I'll be short because I know you're still reading, but I think we get to talk more about the whole masculinity thing, though. I mean, I think
Absolutely.
oh,
I'm looking forward to it.
there's healing for so many men out there that's possible.
you know what? I know this didn't involve me, but I'm going to insert myself for a second.
Please,
I
please,
think you
Claudia.
guys need to get together. I think we need to invite as many men as we can to this one evening and talk about this. I think it's such a beautiful topic that we need. It is so necessary. I see it all the freaking time and I go, please, I'm glad I'm seeing this change in how we're viewing masculinity and what it really means in our world and what it continues to. And it's just the beginning because I think we've had such toxic, you know, examples.
Right.
I am all about this. Do it.
Absolutely,
You know,
absolutely.
the one of the last books that Rick got for his own expansion, he got the Laurentia book on asteroids, and that author has a beautiful understanding of the energy of masculinity just fearlessly moving into the unknown.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, I love it. I think we have another, we could do an evening on this. Anita, I feel like you've given me your chart and I can't seem to find it. Would you mind, if you want us to look at your chart, would you mind putting it in the chat? And while we do that, we'll look at May's chart. So May, I know we don't have a time of birth for you, and I think we kind of we're
Ballpark 3:30.
we settled on
Yeah,
30.
yeah.
So I think she has an interception. No, she doesn't. Okay. So it's interesting. We've had ones that focus on fourth, fifth, and sixth house. That is interesting. So yours is going to be uh going over your fifth house, so your house of expression, personal expression, how you're expressing yourself. That could mean that you want to dance around your kitchen, or that could mean you be more vocal, and or that could mean that there's a little quote unquote baby that you're giving birth to that is an expression of you. And it might be a new thing. It might be something that's already in your life. But it's nice and it's going to have probably some sort of Piscean signature to it, you know? It could be art, music, or something that you haven't even discovered yet, but it's just starting, which is really nice. I think because from what I've sensed is like you feel like you're really coming into your own from our conversations in the past. This is only going to enhance that even more, I think. Does that
I'll say on my side, what I see is this north node that comes in with emphasizes that I see the Libra 12th house, and with all the rest of things being balanced in the bottom of the chart, that makes a very private individual. And having Pisces going into that fifth, that's making great use of that time alone and her ability to fearlessly transform with that uh, Mars Pluto South Node.
Yeah.
This is somebody who has made a lifetimes of knowing how to transform and also to fight to the death. So that's an incredible thing that you're taking into your own self-reflection in your private life. Beautiful energy.
Does that resonate at all with you, May?
Yes, I think I've read some book recently. It's about identify your ego and the consciousness in deep of you, and we need to separate two of them by understanding we are the conscious and we are not the talker or little ego in our brain. I think we can probably understand ourselves more. Yeah.
Yes.
Very
Oh,
true.
Mm.
that is beautifully put.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm getting under, or although the theory is easy to understand, but put it into reality and understand yourself, that takes a bit of time. And I'm trying, I'm finding my way slowly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Mm,
Well, you
yeah,
picked a wonderful time because this
mm,
energy is supporting that pursuit.
yeah,
and
that,
so if you look at the screen, it's, traveling through here, through here, through here, and then it's going to hit your Jupiter eventually, which is going to start that's in 2026. The North Node will be going into I'm sorry, into Aquarius, where your Jupiter is. It's even more deeper level of wisdom.
mm, mm,
Really, really nice. Really, really
yep,
beautiful.
yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Anita, did you want to send us, or did you want to send me your details? I don't know if you're still with us. Listening. I'm gonna text you, make sure I get your chart if you're not listening, um, so that I can have it ready when I need it. I can't tell if she's moving or not. But if you're on Facebook, I'll wait for her for a moment when I'll announce this. If you're on Facebook and you have not gotten an invitation from me, let me know. If you're not on Facebook, we have a Facebook group that you may want to join that is just about this group. And it's just us. You have to be invited to it so you can talk about stuff that's, within this group. Like no outsiders will listen or will know.
It's a private group, so the content is fully within our group alone.
Yes. Erica, I see your comment about astrocartography for Sean. Let me tell you how I am fascinated and I want to learn so much about this, and I find it a little overwhelming, but I know that I kind of feel like that's the direction I'm going eventually. I'm not saying, like full on, but just it's so fascinating. So I don't know if you all know I'm going to be moving to Houston. I currently live
Wow.
in Atlanta and I'm going to be moving to Houston in next year. And
Wow.
that's a big deal. So I looked at my
Yeah.
chart and see what was going on as far as the astrocartography. I don't know much about it, but I do know that it is a good place for me.
But I'm not sure if Sean moved or not. Did you move, Sean?
I feel like he said he did move to,
Yes, I moved about an hour and a half away from where I was before.
Oh, okay. That's not going to make a big deal with astrocartography, I don't think. I thought maybe you moved like countries or something like that. No, okay.
No, no, no. But I did move from Jamaica, though. I'm originally from Jamaica.
Yeah,
So,
that would be
mhm.
maybe
yeah. Oh, it's
a big
fast.
deal.
I'd love to find somebody. I wonder if we could have a guest talk to us about it. That would be lovely. Uh,
Maybe Ksenia is familiar with it.
we'll see, and if not, maybe she could direct.
Sean, talking about your move real quick, is that
Mm.
the southwestern area with those areas you had mentioned previously, or the central southern area of PA?
So I don't know. I haven't looked at it in that sense, but I'm just moved from New Jersey to Northampton. So that's in Whitehall or Allentown, if that's familiar.
Okay,
Yeah, so there
so
you go.
yeah,
Right
it's
in
not the
right in that
Pittsburgh suburb.
vicinity. Right,
Yeah,
right, right.
right. Gotcha. Yeah,
Um,
some of your areas that you were mentioning happen to have. Uh, the more charts you do, the more you're going to find out There are repeats of towns names in a state. You'll see we have 6 Mount Pleasants in Pennsylvania alone.
Mm.
So you need the county name to go ahead and get a birth chart done.
Yeah, I mean, I could text it to you though. I'll just send you the information if
Sure,
anything. Hmm.
that sounds great.
So guys, I'm gonna wrap up. We're gonna wrap up, but we're gonna meet again. So Sean, because you weren't here in the beginning, we're gonna meet again on, I have to turn
We're
on.
doing 2 times a month for a while, just to go ahead
Okay.
and get some things navigated.
Yeah, so February 13th, we're going to meet and we're going to talk about Venus retro. So we're prepared for Valentine's Day. No, that's not why. But we're going to, Venus is about to go retrograde. And we're going to talk about that cycle and what that means, because every planet goes retrograde, but we don't talk about any of the others except for Mercury. So here's the place to talk about all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we'll see you on the 13th, and I'll put this up on YouTube, and please look out for an invite if you don't already have one. And stay blessed, stay well, be happy, take care of each other, and thank you for joining us.
All right, have a good
Thank
one,
you,
guys.
Claudia.
It's
Thank
Thank you,
you,
been
everybody.
Rick.
This
beautiful
was
to have you
Thank
all
fun.
you.
together.
This
Thank you,
was so
Rick.
fun. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
It's good to
Thank
see
you,
you.
Yes.
guys.
Bye. Have a good
Pleasure.
week.